The demand. In a galaxy far away, the Galactic Empire ruled over many planets and species. The empire was powerful, with a reputation for its advanced technology and grand spaceships. However, its leader, King Varrock, was known not just for his strength, but also for his peculiar desires. On this day, the great throne room was filled with the laughter of the court and the echoing sounds of music. King Varrock sat on his golden throne, adorned in extravagant robes, looking down at his subjects with an air of superiority. As the festivities continued, the king decided it was time for a bold declaration. With a loud voice that commanded attention, he called for silence. The musicians stopped playing, and the chatter faded away. All eyes turned to the king, whose reputation for outrageous requests was well known. "Today, I demand a rare gift," he proclaimed, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. The crowd leaned in closer, eager to hear what the king had in mind. "I seek a human bride, but not just any bride. I want the ugliest daughter of the human race to marry me." Gasps filled the room, followed by murmurs of disbelief. The court members exchanged glances, unsure if they had heard correctly. The thought of a human marrying their grand king was already shocking, but to demand an ugly one was something entirely different. The crowd erupted in laughter, some clutching their sides, while others shook their heads in disbelief. The king's request was both absurd and demeaning, yet it brought him great amusement. On the other side of the galaxy, on the planet Earth, news of the king's demand quickly spread. Among those who heard the news was a young woman named Lila. Lila was not just any human. She was the daughter of a respected ambassador, known for her intelligence and bravery. She often felt overlooked in her world, not because of her appearance, but due to the tendency of others to judge her by superficial standards. When Lila learned about the king's request, she felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and a deep sense of injustice. "How dare he?" she exclaimed, pacing her room. "This is not just about beauty, it's about respect. He thinks he can mock us because we are different." Her father, the ambassador, tried to comfort her. "Lila, this is a matter of diplomacy. We must handle it carefully," he advised, his voice calm yet firm. "The empire may be powerful, but we cannot allow them to treat us like this. We need to respond with dignity." Meanwhile, in the throne room, King Varrock reveled in the laughter. He enjoyed being the center of attention, and this demand only solidified his power in the eyes of his court. "Let it be known," he continued, "that whoever brings me this ugly human daughter will be rewarded greatly. I want to see her, and I want her in my palace." His words echoed through the room, filling the air with a heavy mix of mockery and anticipation. The king's court buzzed with excitement as the idea of a competition took root. It was not just a matter of finding a bride. It was about proving a point, both to the humans and to each other. As the laughter faded, a sense of determination began to grow within Lila. She realized that this was not just an insult to her people, it was an opportunity to show the empire that humans were more than their looks. Lila decided then and there that she would not let this moment define her or her race. The stage was set, and the battle of wits, dignity, and strength was about to unfold. The Galactic Empire might have mocked humanity, but Lila was ready to rise to the challenge. Human reaction. The news of King Varrock's outrageous demand spread like wildfire across Earth. In cities and towns, people gathered in groups, their faces a mix of shock and anger. A holographic news report displayed the king's declaration, capturing the laughter and mockery of the Galactic Empire. It showed King Varrock on his throne, surrounded by a court that found amusement in his cruel request. As the report ended, a deep silence fell over the crowd at the United Nations building. Leaders from various countries exchanged concerned glances. Ambassador Martin, Lila's father, stood up, his expression serious. "This is not just a joke. The king's demand is an insult to all of humanity," he declared. The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement. Some leaders suggested a diplomatic approach, believing that ignoring the king would be the best response. Others, however, argued for a more assertive stand. "We must not allow the Empire to think they can belittle us," shouted a representative from a neighboring country. "We need to show them that we are strong and united." Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the room, Leela listened intently, her heart racing. She could feel the weight of the moment. "This is about more than just my appearance," she thought. "It's about our dignity as a species." She decided she could not sit silently while her father and other leaders discussed the issue. Lila stood up, her voice shaking with passion. "What if I volunteer?" she asked, surprising everyone. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. "What do you mean?" her father asked, concern in his voice. "This is not a game, Leela. It could be dangerous." "I know it's risky," she replied. "But if I go, I can show the king and the Empire that we are more than their jokes. I can fight for our honor and our dignity." Her words resonated with many in the room, who nodded in agreement. After a long discussion, the leaders agreed to support Leela's decision. They would prepare her for the encounter with the Empire. She would become a symbol of resistance against the king's mockery, and the whole world would stand behind her. As preparations began, Leela felt both excited and scared. She practiced speeches, trained in combat, and studied the Galactic Empire's customs and traditions. Her determination grew stronger every day. With each passing moment, she transformed from a girl feeling ashamed of her looks to a warrior ready to defend her people. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Empire, the news of Leela's decision reached King Varrock. He chuckled at the thought of a single human girl standing up to him. "Let her come," he said, smirking. "This will be entertaining. A human against the might of the Empire. She has no idea what she's getting into." Back on Earth, Leela's family and friends rallied around her. They shared stories of human resilience and strength, reminding her that beauty was not just skin deep. "You have the heart of a lion," her best friend Maya said. "You can show them who we really are." As Leela prepared for her journey to the Galactic Empire, she felt a spark of hope ignite within her. She was no longer just the daughter of an ambassador. She was a beacon of change. This battle was not just hers. It was for every human who had ever felt judged or ridiculed. With the support of her people behind her, Leela was ready to face the king and the mockery of the Empire, determined to prove that humanity was worth much more than a laugh. The Alliance. As Leela prepared for her journey to the Galactic Empire, she knew she could not face this challenge alone. The support of her family and friends was strong, but she needed allies beyond Earth. If she was going to confront King Varrock and the Empire, she would need a coalition of various species to stand by her side. In the following days, Leela traveled to the United Nations headquarters, where representatives from different planets and species had gathered. News of the king's demand had reached them all, and many were eager to lend their support to humanity. Leela stood before the assembly, her heart pounding with determination. "Thank you for gathering here today," she began, her voice steady. "We all know why we are here. King Varrock of the Galactic Empire has insulted not just humans, but every species that values dignity and respect. We need to show him that we will not be mocked." As she spoke, Leela could see nods of agreement among the audience. Various representatives, each from different worlds, leaned in closer. A tall, green-skinned being named Zorak, from the planet Tellara, stood up. "Your bravery is commendable, human," he said. "The Empire has treated us all as lesser beings for too long. We must unite against this tyranny." Encouraged by Zorak's words, Leela continued, "Together, we can demonstrate our strength. We are not just individuals from different worlds. We are allies with a shared goal. Let us form an alliance to stand against King Varrock." The assembly erupted in applause. Leela felt a surge of hope as she looked at the diverse crowd. There were beings with shimmering scales, creatures with multiple limbs, and those who floated gracefully above the ground. Each had their own grievances against the Empire, and now they had a common cause. One by one, leaders from different species stepped forward to pledge their support. The representative from the amphibious planet of Garion, a wise creature named Shuri, said, "We have faced the Empire's cruelty for too long. We will stand by your side, Lila. Your fight is our fight." Next, a swift, agile being from the planet Vesera added, "We have our own skills and technologies that can help. Together, we can prepare for whatever the Empire throws at us." As the alliance took shape, Leela felt a sense of unity among them. It was not just a gathering of different species. It was a family united against a common enemy. They shared stories of their struggles, experiences that fueled their resolve. The more they talked, the stronger their bond became. With the plan in place, Leela and her new allies began strategizing. They discussed what resources each species could offer. The Vesara were known for their advanced technology, while the Tellarans had unmatched combat skills. Each species contributed its strengths to the alliance, forming a comprehensive strategy against the Galactic Empire. Days turned into weeks, and the alliance grew stronger. Lila trained alongside her allies, learning their combat techniques and understanding their cultures. They laughed, shared meals, and forged friendships. Lila discovered that they all shared a deep desire for freedom and respect. This gave her hope that they could challenge the Empire together. As the date of Leela's journey to the Galactic Empire approached, she felt a wave of confidence wash over her. She was no longer just an individual fighting for her dignity. She was the leader of a diverse alliance. Together, they would march into the heart of the Empire, ready to confront King Varrock and demand respect not just for humans, but for all beings in the galaxy. With her allies by her side, Layla was determined to show the Empire that unity could conquer mockery, and that strength came in many forms. The stage was set for an epic confrontation, one that would resonate throughout the galaxy. The transformation. The day of Leela's departure to the Galactic Empire had finally arrived. As she stood in front of the mirror, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. She knew that this journey was not just about confronting King Varrock. It was also about embracing her true self and proving that beauty came from within. Her friends from the Alliance had encouraged her to undergo a transformation before she arrived at the Empire. They wanted her to show King Varrock that she was more than the label of being ugly. Instead of changing who she was, they believed she could highlight her strengths and showcase her true beauty. Leela felt grateful for their support. With the help of Zorak, the green-skinned Telleran, Leela began her transformation. Zorak was known for his artistic abilities, particularly in enhancing appearances through special techniques. He gathered natural ingredients from his planet, glowing plants and colorful minerals, to create a unique blend. "This is not just about looks," he said as he worked. "It's about showing your confidence. When you feel beautiful, others will see it too." Leela watched as Zorak carefully mixed the ingredients. The concoction shimmered with vibrant colors, each hue telling a story of its own. "What will this do?" she asked curiously. "It will enhance your natural features," Zorak replied. "But remember, it is your spirit and determination that will truly shine. This is just the outer layer." As he applied the mixture to her skin, Leela felt a warm sensation spreading through her. The colors danced on her face, highlighting her eyes and cheekbones. Zorak's hands moved with precision and care, transforming her appearance into something unique and striking. Once he was finished, Leila looked at her reflection and gasped. The girl staring back at her was not only different but radiant. The shimmering colors enhanced her natural beauty without hiding who she was. She felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. "I feel amazing," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with newfound confidence. Her transformation didn't stop with her appearance. With the encouragement of her allies, Leela began to train harder than ever before. She practiced combat skills with the Vesera, learning their swift movements and agile tactics. She honed her mind through strategic discussions, preparing for the challenges ahead. Each day, she grew stronger, both physically and mentally. During training, Leela often recalled the laughs and kindness shared among her allies. They encouraged her to embrace her uniqueness, reminding her that everyone had their own beauty. Your strength comes from your heart and mind, Maya, her best friend, would often say. That's what will truly capture their attention. As the final days of preparation passed, Leela felt more ready than ever. She had transformed not only in appearance, but also in spirit. The girl who once felt ashamed now stood tall and proud, surrounded by allies who believed in her. On the morning of her departure, Leela gathered her friends for one last meeting. "Thank you all for believing in me," she said, her voice steady. "This journey is not just mine. It belongs to all of us. Together, we will show the Empire who we are." Her friends cheered, their faces filled with excitement and determination. They had come together as a powerful force, ready to challenge the mockery of the Galactic Empire. With her heart racing, Leela stepped onto the ship that would take her to the heart of the Empire. She knew the path ahead would be difficult, but she felt a sense of strength she had never known before. The transformation was complete. Leela was no longer just a girl. She was a warrior, ready to fight for her dignity and the dignity of all beings in the galaxy. The diplomatic banter. As Leela's ship soared through the stars, she gazed out at the vast expanse of space. The swirling colors of nebulae and distant planets filled her with a sense of wonder, but her heart was heavy with anticipation. Soon, she would face King Varrock and the Galactic Empire. The stakes were high, and she knew she had to be ready for anything. Upon arriving at the Empire's Grand Palace, Leela was struck by its sheer size and opulence. Towering spires reached into the sky, and intricate designs adorned the walls. She stepped off the ship, her allies by her side, feeling both small and powerful at the same time. The palace was filled with creatures of all kinds, each one watching her with curious eyes. King Varrock's throne room was a spectacle of gold and jewels, reflecting the king's wealth and power. As she entered, Leela took a deep breath, steeling herself for the confrontation. The room was filled with members of the royal court, all dressed in elaborate outfits, their faces a mix of curiosity and amusement. King Varrock sat on his massive throne, a smug smile plastered across his face. "Ah, the brave human has arrived," he boomed, his voice echoing off the walls. "And what a delightful sight you are, indeed. I expected less, but you are, how shall I say, a surprising representation of your kind." Leela straightened her back, refusing to let his mockery affect her. "Thank you, Your Majesty," she replied, her voice steady. "But I am here not to entertain you, but to speak on behalf of humanity and my allies. Your request for an ugly bride was not just an insult, it was a challenge." The courtiers snickered, their laughter ringing through the throne room. Varrock leaned forward, intrigued. "A challenge, you say? Do tell. I am all ears for such boldness." "Your demand mocked not just me, but all humans," Leela continued, her courage growing. "We may not fit your narrow definition of beauty, but we possess strength, intelligence, and the ability to stand united. If you think we will bow to your whims, you are mistaken." King Varrock chuckled, clearly entertained. "And what is it you hope to gain from this little discussion? A crown? A title? You must understand, little human, that my power is absolute." Leela met his gaze without flinching. "We seek respect, not power. If you are willing to treat us as equals, perhaps we can find common ground." The king raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her boldness. "Common ground? What would that look like? Would you negotiate for a spot at my court? Surely you understand that I am the ruler here." "Perhaps," Leela said, "but true rulers do not demand that others be less than they are. They elevate those around them. You have a choice, Your Majesty, to be a ruler of fear or a leader of respect." The court fell silent. For the first time, Varrock's expression shifted from amusement to contemplation. "You speak well for a human," he admitted, his tone slightly more serious. "But what proof do you have that your people can be of any value to the Empire?" Before Layla could respond, Zorak stepped forward. Your Majesty, we are not here just to prove ourselves. We offer skills, knowledge, and alliances that can benefit both our peoples. Together, we can create something greater than the Empire itself. A murmur rippled through the crowd as Leela's allies spoke of their abilities. The Vesera shared their advanced technologies, while the Tellarans spoke of their combat prowess. Each species highlighted their unique contributions, weaving a tapestry of cooperation and unity. Varrock leaned back in his throne, clearly intrigued. Very well. You have piqued my interest, brave human. I will consider your words. But know this, I do not take kindly to challenges. Leela smiled, feeling a sense of victory. She had come here to demand respect, and she was beginning to earn it. The atmosphere shifted slightly. The laughter was replaced with curiosity, and the king seemed less amused. With the seeds of a potential alliance sown, Leela knew that the real battle was just beginning. She had sparked a dialogue, and now she must navigate the treacherous waters of diplomacy and power. The next move would determine not just her fate, but that of all humanity. Unveiling truths. The atmosphere in the throne room had shifted. Lila stood firm, feeling the weight of the moment settle around her. King Varrock, intrigued yet cautious, studied her closely, and the courtiers were silent, hanging on every word. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very fabric of their worlds hung in the balance. What else do you have to offer, Leela? Varrock finally asked, his tone less mocking and more curious. You speak of respect and equality, but what truths do you bring to this table? Leela took a deep breath, knowing this was her chance to reveal the heart of her mission. Your Majesty, we come from a world where cooperation and understanding are essential for survival. Our differences make us stronger, not weaker. This is a truth we have learned through centuries of history, and it is one you could learn from as well. She glanced around the room, gauging the reactions of the courtiers. Some appeared skeptical, while others leaned in closer, intrigued by her words. She continued, her voice steady and strong. In our galaxy, we have seen how empires rise and fall. The ones built on fear and mockery, like yours, may thrive for a time, but they eventually crumble. True strength lies in unity and respect. Varrock's expression hardened slightly, but there was a flicker of interest in his eyes. And what makes you think your people can stand beside us? How do I know this alliance would not be a weakness? At that moment, Leela felt a surge of confidence, because we have already shown our strength by uniting. Each of us has faced the Empire's scorn in our own way. The Vesara have endured your unjust trades, and the Tellarans have fought your wars. Yet here we stand, not as victims, but as allies. Zorak nodded in agreement, stepping forward. Your Majesty, we bring skills that can enhance your empire. The Vesara have advanced technologies that could improve your defenses. The Tellarans possess unmatched combat skills. Together, we can create an empire that is not only feared but respected across the galaxy. The king leaned back in his throne, contemplating their words. Lila could see the wheels turning in his mind. You make a compelling argument, human, but I must admit, I find it difficult to trust those who have long been seen as weak. Leela understood the gravity of his words. It is not weakness that defines us, but our willingness to grow and change. We have all suffered under the weight of your empire's arrogance, but this moment presents a chance for a new path. As Leela spoke, she felt the energy in the room shift. Some courtiers began to nod in agreement, recognizing the potential in her words. She pressed on, her voice filled with conviction. Imagine a galaxy where alliances are formed not out of fear, but mutual respect. A place where different species can share knowledge and thrive together. This is the future we seek, and you have the power to shape it. Varrock looked around the throne room, observing the reactions of his court. For the first time, Leela sensed uncertainty in his demeanor. The laughter and mockery were fading, replaced by a cautious curiosity. Very well, he said finally, his tone serious. I will consider this alliance, but know that if you betray my trust, The consequences will be severe. Leela felt a surge of hope. Thank you, Your Majesty. We will prove our worth. Together, we can build something greater than we ever imagined. As the meeting came to a close, Leela felt a mixture of relief and excitement. She had unveiled the truth of her intentions, and for the first time, King Varrock seemed willing to listen. The seeds of an alliance had been planted, but she knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. As she left the throne room, Leela felt the presence of her allies beside her. Together, they had taken a significant step toward a future that promised respect and cooperation. The battle was not over, but for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope on the horizon. The ultimatum. The atmosphere in the Grand Palace shifted dramatically after Leela's bold speech. The court buzzed with whispers, each courtesan exchanging thoughts about the audacious human who dared to challenge their king. Leela and her allies felt a mix of anxiety and hope. They had opened a dialogue, but the real test was yet to come. The next day, King Varrock summoned Leela to his private chambers. As she entered, she noticed the room was more lavish than the throne room, filled with treasures from across the galaxy. The king sat at a long table, drumming his fingers impatiently. Leela felt a pang of apprehension as she approached. Leela, Varrock began, his tone serious. I have given your proposal considerable thought. However, there are conditions. An alliance with the Empire will not come easily. Leela swallowed hard, bracing herself for what was to come. What kind of conditions, Your Majesty? Varrock leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. I will give you an ultimatum. You must prove the worth of your people within a month. Bring me a show of strength and loyalty from each species in your alliance, or I will dismiss this alliance altogether and proceed with my plans to humiliate humanity further. Leela's heart raced. This was not what she had expected. What do you mean by a show of strength? She asked cautiously. I want to see each species display their best abilities, Varrock replied, his voice steady. The Vesara must demonstrate their technology. The Tellarans need to showcase their combat skills. And you, human, must lead this effort. If I am impressed, I will consider solidifying our alliance. If not, you and your people will face the consequences. Leela felt a wave of determination wash over her. We will rise to the challenge, Your Majesty. You will see the strength of our alliance. Do not underestimate the task ahead, Varrock warned, his voice low. If you fail, I will have no choice but to follow through with my original demand. I will choose a bride from your people based on my whims, regardless of her appearance. Anger surged within Leela, but she forced herself to remain calm. You will not find a willing bride among us, King Varrock. We are not pawns for your amusement. Varrock smirked, seemingly entertained by her defiance. We shall see. The clock is ticking, Leela. You have 1 month. With that, Leela left the chamber, her mind racing. She gathered her allies to discuss the ultimatum. They met in a small, quiet room within the palace, away from prying eyes. The mood was tense as Leela shared the news. This is our chance to prove ourselves, she said, her voice resolute. But we must act quickly. We need to show King Varrock that our alliance is powerful and that we are capable of great things. Zorak nodded, his expression thoughtful. We need to plan a series of demonstrations that highlight the strengths of each species. We must combine our efforts to create a lasting impression. Maya, Leela's best friend, added, we could organize a showcase of technology from the Vesara and a combat exhibition from the Tellarans. We could even display human ingenuity through teamwork challenges. The group brainstormed ideas, excitement slowly building as they recognized the potential in their plan. They knew they had to work together to succeed, and each member of the alliance contributed their ideas. As the days passed, they practiced tirelessly, each species sharing their unique skills. Leela felt a growing sense of unity among them. Together, they were stronger than they had ever imagined. But the pressure of the ultimatum weighed heavily on Leela's shoulders. She thought about her people back on Earth, the faces of her friends and family. They were counting on her. Determined to rise to the challenge, Leela knew that failure was not an option. The month ahead would test their strength, but they would not back down. The stakes were high, and they were ready to show the Empire what true alliance looked like. Leela was prepared to fight for her people's dignity and future, no matter the cost. The climax. The day of the grand demonstration had finally arrived. Leela stood at the edge of the arena, her heart pounding in her chest. The colossal structure was filled with spectators from all corners of the Galactic Empire. Bright banners fluttered in the air, and the sound of chatter filled the space. Courtiers and dignitaries, eager to see the spectacle, filled the stands. Leela felt both excitement and fear wash over her. She took a deep breath, reminding herself why they were there. This was their moment to prove their worth, to show King Varrock and the Empire that their alliance was formidable. Beside her stood Zorak, Maya, and representatives from the Vesera and Telara. Each one wore their unique attire, displaying the colors and symbols of their species. They were ready. As the signal sounded, the arena fell silent. King Varrock sat in his throne, flanked by his advisors, a smirk on his face. Leela could feel his eyes on her, and she steeled her nerves. "Let the demonstration begin," he declared, his voice booming across the arena. Zorak was the first to step forward. He gestured to a massive screen that illuminated the arena, showcasing the advanced technology of the Vesera. Leela watched as holograms projected displays of their starships, energy shields, and communication systems. The crowd gasped in awe as the Vesera's innovations dazzled them with their brilliance. "This is just a glimpse of what we can offer," Zorak said confidently, his voice resonating throughout the arena. Next, it was the Tellarans' turn. A group of skilled warriors entered the arena, their movements swift and graceful. They showcased their combat skills, executing a series of impressive maneuvers. They fought against each other in a choreographed display that highlighted their strength and precision. The audience erupted in applause, clearly impressed by the raw power of the Tellarans. Then it was Leela's turn. She stepped into the center of the arena, her heart racing. She knew that what she did next would be crucial in proving humanity's worth. "We may not have the advanced technology of the Vesera or the combat skills of the Tellarans, but we have something unique to offer," she began, her voice steady. "We have creativity, resilience, and the ability to unite diverse groups for a common cause." With that, she invited her allies to join her on stage. Together, they began a series of teamwork challenges. They tackled obstacles that required cooperation and strategy, demonstrating how different species could work together to overcome challenges. Leela felt a sense of pride as she watched her friends support one another, each showcasing their strengths and learning from each other. The audience was captivated by the energy in the arena. They watched as Leela and her allies solved problems, showing that unity was their greatest asset. As they completed each challenge, the cheers grew louder, and even King Varrock leaned forward, his amusement replaced with genuine interest. But just as the energy reached its peak, a shadow crossed the arena. A group of soldiers loyal to Varrock burst into the scene, weapons drawn. "Enough of this foolishness," one of them shouted, interrupting the demonstration. "The Empire does not need your alliances. We will crush this uprising." Leela's heart raced. This was not part of the plan. She quickly rallied her allies, determined not to let fear take over. "We stand together," she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "This is our moment to show them what we are capable of." The soldiers charged, but Leela and her allies quickly formed a line. The arena erupted into a clash of wills. Leela fought alongside her friends, showcasing the strength of their alliance against the soldiers. The crowd was in awe, witnessing the bravery of those who dared to defy the Empire. In that moment, Leela realized that they were not just fighting for their dignity, they were fighting for their future. With each movement, they proved that together, they could overcome even the most daunting challenges. The climax of their struggle had begun, and they would not back down. As Leela fought with determination, She felt the spirit of her allies beside her. United, they faced the soldiers of the Empire, ready to prove their strength once and for all. The outcome was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the alliance would not be easily broken. The resolution. The arena was filled with chaos as Leela and her allies fought against the soldiers of King Varrock. The clash of weapons echoed, and the air was thick with tension. Lila's heart raced as she moved swiftly, dodging attacks and rallying her friends to hold the line. This was not just a demonstration anymore. It had become a battle for their freedom and dignity. Leela could see the fear and determination in the eyes of her allies. Zorak fought fiercely, his skills on full display, while Maya used her agility to outmaneuver their attackers. The Tellarans displayed their combat prowess, forming a barrier that kept the soldiers at bay. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. As the fighting continued, Leela spotted King Varrock rising from his throne, his expression shifting from amusement to shock. He had not expected this kind of rebellion. Enough, he bellowed, his voice rising above the chaos. You dared challenge the Empire. Leela seized the moment. We are not challenging the Empire. We are standing up for ourselves. She shouted back, her voice filled with conviction. You may have power, but we have something you lack: unity and determination. Varrock paused, taken aback by her defiance. He had always viewed humanity and its allies as inferior, but now he was witnessing their strength firsthand. Lila's words pierced through the chaos, resonating with the audience. They were no longer just spectators. They were witnesses to a fight for dignity. Just then, Leela noticed a group of courtiers, initially eager to mock her, now looked uncertain. They began to murmur among themselves, their expressions changing as they witnessed the bravery of Leela and her allies. This was not the expected outcome, and it left them questioning their loyalty to the king. Taking a deep breath, Leela pressed on. This is not just about us. It's about a future where all species can stand together as equals. Together, we can create a stronger empire, one built on respect and cooperation rather than fear. Her words struck a chord, and Leela saw several courtiers nod in agreement. Sensing a shift, Varrock's soldiers hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. It was a pivotal moment, and Leela knew she had to act quickly. Join us, she cried out. Stand with us against oppression. In that moment of uncertainty, one of the leading courtiers stepped forward, a woman with striking silver hair. You are right, Leela. We have been blinded by our loyalty to the king. It is time to seek a better way. Her voice rang clear and strong, echoing through the arena. With that, a wave of support rippled through the crowd. One by one, courtiers began to voice their agreement. Yes, we want change. We support the alliance. Their shouts grew louder, drowning out the noise of the battle. Varrock's face twisted in anger and disbelief. How dare you betray me? He shouted, but his words were lost in the uproar of support for Leela and her allies. The tide had turned. Seeing his grip on power slipping, Varrock hesitated. Leela stepped forward again, her heart pounding. This can be a new beginning, Your Majesty. Join us in building a future where all are respected. You have the power to change. The king, surrounded by his wavering courtiers, finally lowered his head, realizing the moment had slipped from his control. Very well, he said, his voice laced with reluctance. Let us negotiate. With those words, the fighting subsided. Leela and her allies lowered their weapons, hopeful but cautious. The atmosphere shifted as the realization dawned on everyone. They had fought for their future, and they were on the brink of a new alliance. In the days that followed, Leela and King Varrock engaged in negotiations, laying the foundation for a new era in the Galactic Empire. The alliance between humans, Visara, and Tellarans was solidified, and their combined strengths began to reshape the empire. Leela felt a sense of accomplishment as she looked around at her friends and allies. They had overcome challenges, faced their fears, and proved their worth. What had started as a demand for respect had transformed into a movement for equality and cooperation. As they stood united, Leela knew they had forged a path toward a brighter future. Together, they would create a galaxy where every species had a voice, and no one would be mocked or belittled again. The resolution was not just about the end of conflict. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, strength, and unity.